Hello, people. I'm just so excited. I was having a conversation with the enrollment officer of my school, the Jesuit School of Theology of Santa Clara University, the need to get the kind of information that he has across to people who are trying to apply, both to my school, Jesuit School of Theology of Santa Clara University, and people who are thinking about applying to other schools in general. But specifically, he's going to be talking about the Jesuit School of Theology, where I have just graduated from. And by the way, I am so grateful to Ed. Your name is out here, Ed Stewart, and to my school. I would first of all ask to introduce himself, and then I ask him a couple of questions. We want to make this very brief, just so that people can get one or two information. So please, who do we have here?
Hi, my name is Ed Stewart. I'm the Director of Enrollment Management at the Jesuit School of Theology of Santa Clara University. And as you probably know, Fortunatus is a student here.
I met Ed in 2021 when I got here for my studies, and he has been a very great pillar of support in my studies. So thank you, Ed. I wanted to ask a few questions that some people who are applying, some people who have reached out to me usually ask me.
Okay.
Basically, what are the requirements? Let me start from the programs that you have at the Jesuit School of Theology of Santa Clara University.
Sure. So if you have a bachelor's degree, and you're thinking about studying theology, the two degrees that most people will be interested in are either the Master of Divinity, and we call that the MDiv, or the Master of Theological Studies, and we call that MTS.
Mm.
I'm going to start with the MDiv because I have seen a lot of applications for the MDiv program, but the standards for getting into the MDiv program are actually pretty high. And one of the things I wanted to emphasize is that for the Master of Divinity program, people want to be able to read your essay, your statement of purpose, and have a clear sense of what your calling to ministry is, why you think the Master of Divinity program is the right degree, what you would do with that degree once you graduated. Um, and then the other piece that's important for that degree program, people want, when I say people, I mean our faculty, the people who review the applications, want to be able to see some evidence of your experience in ministry, even as a layperson. If you've volunteered at your parish, if you have been a catechist, or if you have done even some other kind of volunteer activity that might involve basically assisting people in some way. So it doesn't have to be even parish related, but something that shows your commitment to serving others and working for social justice is helpful. Because, I mean, to be honest, we don't really admit people for the MDiv program unless we know they have a clear sense of purpose and a clear sense of their vocation. Um, and it's also important to be able to kind of like articulate why JST.
Mm.
Um, I mean, to be honest, there are seminaries in Nigeria and there are other seminaries in the United States as well. Um, so our admissions committee wants to know why you think coming to JST specifically is the path you need to take to reach your goals. For the MTS program, it's a shorter program. It's only 2 years. The MDiv is 3 years. The MTS, we can be a little bit more flexible in that regard. That is a degree for people who are just sort of generally exploring theology and might not have had a previous background in studying theology or in performing ministry. Um, that's really the big difference between the two degrees.
Good.
The other thing I'll mention, and I know people aren't going to be happy to admit this, that are happy to hear this, but Santa Clara University policy requires applicants from Nigeria to demonstrate English proficiency, normally by way of completing an English proficiency exam. That could be the TOEFL, but we ordinarily recommend that people take the Duolingo exam because you can do it online from your computer at home. Um, and it's just usually easier to get the test done. You don't have to schedule an appointment and go to a test center, that sort of thing. Um, if you ask for a waiver, basically, and this is just a university rule, if you have a degree that you earned in the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and a couple of other countries, you might qualify for a waiver of the English exam. But even if you went to college in Nigeria at a university or college where English was the language of instruction, unfortunately, that degree from Nigeria by itself does not qualify you for an English exam waiver. And that is just a university-wide policy. And I only bring that up because a lot of people ask me for waivers, and I feel bad when I have to tell them no.
Okay, this is really helpful. And I will say that in 2020 when I applied, it was still
Yeah,
open.
the policy
Yes.
changed relatively recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 2021 that it took effect. And
Mm.
it's for all graduate programs. It's not just the theology program.
Good. And a lot of people watch my videos. A lot of people would be seeing this even from across Africa. Is this policy a Nigerian thing or like people from Ghana, people from
No, it's not.
Uganda?
It's Ghana, Kenya, any other country in Africa,
Okay,
basically.
that's really good to know. I graduated from the MDiv. It is a more rigorous, a more tactics-based kind of theology where you are learning and you are doing at the same time. The field work is a very strong part of the MDiv program.
That's
So,
true. That's
yeah,
another big difference between the MDiv and the MTS. The
yeah,
MTS, the curriculum is more flexible. The MDiv, there are a certain set of required courses. Fortunatus could probably tell you most of the courses are actually required to graduate. And there is this field education component that's also really
yeah,
important. I think technically we call it ministry formation, but there's the idea that, just like Fortunatus was saying, you're supposed to be out doing something with theology,
yeah.
not just reading about theology.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's really very helpful. Can I ask you, I know you've slide through a couple of the requirements, especially those that are very pronounced, like the English requirement, how to shoot your shot, like to share your experience in ministry. Can you itemize what the requirements would be so that people who are listening could maybe just take notes, like point by point, what you look at for what these requirements are?
Right. So the things I already mentioned are your statement of purpose, the personal essay you write. That's very important because that's your chance to tell us about yourself and why you want to do this.
Yeah.
So people read that very carefully. The English exam, unfortunately, like I said, is a requirement. Then after that, we ask you to provide transcripts from any colleges that you've attended previously. You need to have at least two letters of recommendation. At least one of those letters of recommendation should come from a professor or someone who taught you previously,
Mm.
because we really like to see an academic reference. We want to have a letter that tells us what your ability is to pursue graduate study. So it can't, at least one of those letters, even two of them can be from faculty members who taught you before. Um, I've seen people who just submit letters from colleagues or persons who know them, through church or from some other activities. One of those letters, at least one of those letters, really needs to come from somebody who's a professor who could talk about your academic abilities. Yeah, those are the big points, really. Your essay, your transcripts, your letters of recommendation, English proficiency exam. I mean, those are the things that make up the bulk of the application.
Okay. And I wanted to ask because when I was applying for another program, one of our faculty members who was writing a letter of recommendation for me told me that um, there's a point where we are asked if you want to waive your right to see the letter, right?
Right. So you're not required to do that, but it's a sign of good faith if you're willing to waive your right to access the letter of recommendation, because it means that you have given this person, your recommender, to say the truth about you without worrying that somehow you're going to ask for a copy of the letter later. And if they say something critical about you, they're going to have some sort of problem with you later.
Yeah.
So it's really just a way to say that you have consented to giving this person the ability to provide a complete and full evaluation of you in their letter.
Yeah. Yeah, I say this because I had heard on to that right. I wanted to see it. And the faculty member told me, Fortune, this does not give the letter a lot of credence. So
Exactly.
yeah, and I just waived it. So I'm asking this just to put it out there. If you're applying to any school and
Yeah,
they
this is for
ask,
any school, not
yes,
just.
yeah. If you're applying to any school, waive that so that the people who read your letter would see that you've given your recommender that autonomy to write what they know about you, and that gives your letter of recommendation more credence. Yeah. Wow, this is really amazing. I really appreciate your time. And is there anything else you would want to say to people applying from Nigeria, from other parts of Africa to Jesuit School of Theology of Santa Clara University?
I think it's really important to make a strong case for yourself. Like I sometimes see essays that say, my parents were Catholic and I grew up Catholic and I love Jesus. That's wonderful, but we kind of already know that if you're even thinking about applying. So you've got to tell us a little bit more.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate this time. Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.